In this video, we are going to quickly learn about all the geographical terms that one needs to know. Whether you have just completed school or you graduated decades ago, there are likely many things you don't know about the extraordinary planet on which we live. Alright then, without any further ado, let's begin. I'm going to use this picture as a reference and I will explain properly all the terms that you see in this picture. Please bear with me for the next few minutes. I know you'll have many questions regarding these landforms and their different types. I'll keep my explanation strictly to all that you can see in this picture for the benefit of keeping it short and crisp. So if you have any question, put it down in the comment section. If you look at a mountain, they are formed due to the movements of tectonic plates. They are formed by slow but gigantic movement of the Earth's crust. This is called plate convergence. When two continental plates collide, it pushes the rocks upward, and that forms a mountain range. A good example is the Himalayan mountain range. They were formed as a result of the collision between the Indian plate and the Eurasian plate, which began 50 million years ago, and it still continues today. So this is how the mountains are formed. You will also find many mountains near coastal areas. These are formed when heavy oceanic plate collides with a lighter continental plate. The oceanic plate sinks beneath the lighter continental plate, which results in coastal mountain ranges like the Andes, Western Ghats, the Aleutians, the Japanese and the Southern Alps. Now the next question is why there is a snow on top of the mountains. These are called snow-capped mountains. The top of the mountain is actually its coldest spot. Now you might have another question. Since the top of a mountain is closer to the sun, it should be warm. And doesn't the heat rise? So why is there snow? Now if you climb a mountain to a higher altitude, the atmosphere gets thinner and thinner. This is because air pressure decreases with altitude. When warm air rises, it expands and cools as the altitude increases. Due to that, the warm air cannot absorb and retain the heat the way it does at the bottom of the mountain. Although mountain tops are closer to the sun, they are also farther away from the thermal heat of the Earth's core that keeps the ground warm. So the top of the mountain can be much colder than the bottom. Cooler temperatures at the top of a mountain also mean that there is less evaporation taking place. This leads to greater amounts of moisture in the air. More moisture means more rain. But when you're at the top of a mountain, instead of rain, it snows. And that's how you get a snow-capped mountain. By the way, not all mountains have snow caps, and not all mountains that get snow have snow caps throughout the year. It all depends upon the location and how tall they are. Now coming to glaciers. How are glaciers formed? It is very easy to understand. Glaciers begin to form when snow remains in the same area for a very long time. I'm talking about an entire year. This way, each year a new layer of snow is formed on the previous layers. This compression forces the snow to recrystallize, meaning those tiny snowflakes becomes tightly packed together. As time passes, the density of these accumulated snow increases. If you go underneath a glacier, you will notice that the bottom layer of a glacier slowly melts. Most of the water recrystallizes and forms like a rock. Here is a map that shows where in the world you will find glaciers. Mostly glaciers occur in high latitude and high altitude regions. Glaciers are usually formed on steep slopes. I mean, this is the place of their accumulation. And if you look at the movement of glaciers, the bottom layer of the glacier, which is also called the glacier bed, it starts to melt. And that reduces the friction between the glacier and the bedrock, making the entire glacier slowly move. Now, when a big piece of ice breaks from a glacier and reaches open sea or ocean water, that is known as iceberg. By the way, glacier is a freshwater source. Please keep that in mind. So iceberg is a large piece of freshwater ice floating in the open water. If you ever see an iceberg, only the tip of the iceberg is visible above water, while nearly 90% of it is underwater. After all, it's a heavy piece of glacier. Glaciers are commonly found in high latitude regions like Antarctica and Arctic region, which consist of places like Alaska, which is in the United States, Finland, Greenland, Iceland, northern Canada, Norway, Russia and Sweden. The next one is Jord. The F word is silent when you pronounce it. These are a long, narrow, deep inlet of the sea between high cliffs. How are they formed? They are created by glaciers. I just told you how glaciers are formed, right? Glaciers move downslope very slowly over time and can greatly alter the landscape once they have moved through an area. When a glacier starts to move, it starts to carve the valley and forms a land depression. This carving of the steep valley